Greetings. I have another reflection for you this week from Bishop Steven Charleston's book, Spirit Wheel, Meditations from an Indigenous Elder. This one is called Turn the Wheel of Time, and it's on page 133 of the book. Do I have some knowledge of what is to come? Can I see into the future? Yes, I can. Not because I am a prophet or a clairvoyant, but because I am making that future right now. By what I choose to do or not do, say or not say, I am shaping what is to come. And so are you. So are we all. We do not need second sight or a crystal ball, but only a sense of personal responsibility. We are not the observers of history, but participants. As close to home as the love we share, as far as the most distant village, our choices count. We make hope happen. We turn the wheel of time. I love that. We aren't just passive observers of history. We are making history happen right now. We make hope happen. We turn the wheel of time. And I think of that placed as this week in between the gospel reading from Mark last week, where Jesus told Peter, it was telling his disciples what was going to happen, and Peter objected, remember? And Jesus said, "Get behind me, Satan." And you're setting your mind not on divine things, but on human things. And between that reading and then this next coming reading from the Gospel of John this next week in Lent, where Jesus, it's the reading where Jesus goes into the temple and turns over the tables of the money changers and drives the animals out that are being sold there for the temple sacrifices. And both of those readings, Jesus is doing something really active and really quite shocking, right? Jesus is acting into the context that he's in, and he's acting in order to bring about God's plan, right? He's doing what God is asking him to do. And even though it is shocking and surprising, but there's something else, because you and I probably aren't going to be in a position of doing something that public and shocking. Maybe so, but mostly we might be in the position of telling the story. So I think of the disciples who were gathered when Jesus was talking to them, and when Peter objected, and when Jesus said, "Get behind me, Satan," those disciples told that story ongoing, and that's how we know it. Same thing with Jesus overturning the tables in the temple, the tables of the money changers. The people who were there, the people who witnessed it, and the disciples told that story. And they told that story in such a way that it was clear that this was Jesus doing God's work. And so I think about, as we tell stories to ourselves, to each other, to our families, about what's happening in the world, things that we did, things that we saw, things that we've experienced, how is it that we can tell stories in such a way that we are telling a story about what God is doing in the world, right? How is it that we can create the future that observes what God is up to, not just as a passive kind of sit back and watch the flow of history happen and critique it? That's pretty comfortable. It's pretty easy, and it doesn't get anybody anywhere. But how, even in the way we tell our stories of our experiences, how can we tell them in such a way that we are recognizing and speaking of where we see God's love, where we see God's hand at work, where we even might have felt used by God to do something, to actually take our place in history as it's happening. These are your thoughts for this week. Have a blessed Lent.